Welcome back to Old Coin Secrets, where every coin has a story, and sometimes that story is worth a fortune. Today we're diving deep into one of the most mysterious and valuable modern U.S. pennies ever discovered, the 1982 D small date copper cent, a coin that technically shouldn't exist. It's a coin that's puzzled experts, thrilled collectors, and turned ordinary people into treasure hunters. So grab your magnifying glass, because what you're about to hear might make you check every 1982 penny you've ever owned. A year of change, the 1982 penny revolution. The year 1982 was a turning point in U.S. coin history. For decades, the Lincoln cent had been made of 95% copper, a reliable metal that gave the penny its classic reddish tone. But as copper prices rose, the U.S. Mint faced a major problem. It cost more than 1 cent to make a penny. So in 1982, the Mint made a bold move. They changed the penny's composition from 95% copper to 97.5% zinc, with only a thin layer of copper plating. The new coin looked the same, but under the surface, everything was different. However, this transition didn't happen overnight. During the switch, both copper and zinc planchets were in use, and that's exactly where the 1982 D small date copper cent story begins. The Mint mix-up, when metals collided. At the Denver Mint, where coins bear the tiny letter D, machines were striking millions of new zinc pennies. But somehow a few leftover copper planchets, those old blanks meant for the pre-1982 cents, got mixed into the presses. The result? A coin that wasn't supposed to exist, a 1982 D small date penny, struck on a copper planchet instead of zinc. This wasn't just a small error. It was a historical accident that would go on to become one of the most famous and valuable U.S. modern coins ever created. How it was discovered. Years later, collectors began noticing strange differences in 1982 pennies. Some had slightly different shapes of numbers, large date versus small date. Others seemed heavier, a telltale sign of copper. Then in 2016, something unbelievable happened. A genuine 1982 D small date copper cent was discovered and verified by PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service. Its weight 311 grams, confirming that it was made of copper. That single discovery shook the coin world. It proved that during the transition, at least one copper blank had made it into the Denver Mint's zinc production line. To this day, only 1 or 2 confirmed examples have ever been found, making it one of the rarest modern pennies in existence. How to identify the 1982 D small date copper cent. If you want to check your own 1982 pennies, here's what to look for. Mint mark. The letter D beneath the year stands for the Denver Mint. If your coin doesn't have the D, it's not this variety. Date style. Compare the numbers in 1982. On the small date, the 8 has smaller, rounder loops. The top of the 2 sits higher and looks thinner than in the large date version. Weight. Copper pennies weigh 3.11 grams. Zinc pennies weigh 2.5 grams. A simple digital scale is your best tool. If your coin reads around 3.1 grams, you might be holding a fortune. Current value, what it's worth. So how much could this rare coin be worth today? Let's break it down. Circulated condition, if ever found, around $10,000, $25,000. Mint state uncirculated, $50,000, $100,000. The finest known example, sold for $1,800 to $800 at auction in 2016. Experts believe that if another perfect, uncirculated specimen were found and auctioned today, it could easily fetch over $250,000 or more, simply because of its impossible origin. Think about it. A 1-cent coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Why it's so rare and valuable. This coin's rarity doesn't come from age. It's from a once-in-a-lifetime minting mistake. It was created at a moment when America was changing its coinage metal, and one tiny leftover copper blank slipped through unnoticed. It's the only coin that perfectly represents that transition. A bridge between the copper past and the zinc future. That's why collectors call it the modern holy grail of pennies. Tips for collectors and beginners. If you're hunting for valuable pennies, follow these steps. Check every 1982 penny carefully. Both Philadelphia and Denver coins exist in multiple versions. Large date, small date, copper, zinc. Use a scale. This is the only sure way to know if you've got copper or zinc. Don't clean your coin. Cleaning damages the surface and destroys collector value. Authenticate it. If you find a 311-gram 1982 D small date penny, send it immediately to PCGS or NGC for certification. Keep learning. Study photos and videos of known examples, so you can recognize genuine ones instantly. Remember, it's not just about luck. It's about knowledge, patience, and the thrill of the hunt. Fun facts you didn't know. The switch to zinc pennies saved the U.S. government millions of dollars in production costs. The 1982 penny is the only year in U.S. history that saw 7 different varieties of 1-cent coins. The genuine 1982 small date copper cent is so rare that even top collectors have never seen one in person. Imagine the possibility. Picture this. You're sorting through an old jar of coins at home, and one penny looks a bit different. You drop it on the table, and it makes a solid clink sound, heavier than the others. You weigh it 3.11 grams. You look closer. It's a 1982 small date. That's not just a penny. That's a down payment on a house. That's history in your hands. The 1982 small date copper cent is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of how small mistakes can create legendary treasures. It's a reminder that even in our spare change, incredible stories are waiting to be discovered. So never underestimate the power of a single penny, because 1 cent could change your life. Coin number 2, the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny. A year when the world was in turmoil, and even the smallest coin in America reflected the struggle of an entire nation. This is the story of the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin born in wartime filled with history, and still holding hidden value that might be lying in your coin jar right now. A year that changed everything. America in 1942. The year 1942 was no ordinary year. The world was at war. America had just entered World War II after the attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941. Factories were no longer making cars or household goods. They were making tanks, planes, and bullets. Every resource mattered. Copper, steel, and tin, metals used in everyday life, were suddenly being reserved for war production. But even in such a critical time, the U.S. Mint had a duty to keep producing coins for the nation's economy. And so, the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny became part of that wartime effort, a small but powerful symbol of endurance and change. The 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny, basic facts. Before we dive into its secrets and value, let's look at the basics. Obverse, front, shows Abraham Lincoln's portrait, designed by Victor D. Brenner. Reverse, back, bears 2 wheat stalks on each side, framing the words 1 cent. Composition, 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc. Weight, 3.11 grams. Mint marks. No mint mark, Norman, Philadelphia. Dust, Denver. Syracuse, San Francisco. Though it may look ordinary, every small detail, from its shine to its metal composition, tells a story of war, adaptation, and hidden fortune. The transition before the war metal change. By 1942, the U.S. Mint was already preparing for major changes. Copper was becoming scarce. It was needed for ammunition shells and communication cables. In early 1942, pennies were still made of the traditional copper alloy. But by the next year in 1943, the Mint would be forced to switch to steel, giving birth to the famous 1943 steel cent. That means the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny was the last full year of the true copper penny before the war metal change. That's why collectors see it as the last copper soldier of pre-war America. Varieties and mint marks of small differences, big value. The 1942 penny was struck at 3 major mints, and each one produced coins with slight variations that can dramatically affect their value today. 1942 Philadelphia, no mint mark. Most common, found in circulation frequently, still collectible if in pristine condition. 1942 D, Denver. The D mark below the date, slightly less common than the Philadelphia version, known for strong strikes and clear details. 1942 S, San Francisco. Scarcer among the 3, has slightly lower minting numbers and softer details. Minted for use on the West Coast during wartime supply shortages. Now here's where it gets interesting. Each of these versions can be worth just a few cents, or hundreds, even thousands of dollars depending on one key. Factor, condition, and error types. Error coins. The hidden treasures of 1942. During wartime, production was fast, chaotic, and full of mistakes. And in the coin world, mistakes can turn ordinary coins into legends. Here are some of the most famous 1942 Lincoln penny errors and varieties that collectors hunt for today. 1942 double die obverse into the numbers and letters on the front appear doubled, especially noticeable on Liberty and In God We Trust. These can sell for $100 to over $1,000, depending on sharpness. 1942, off-center strike. The design is slightly off from the center, leaving part of the blank visible. The more off-center, the higher the value, up to $300, $500 for major off-centers. 1942 clipped planche. A small curved section missing from the edge, caused by misfed planche sheets. Value, $5,200 depending on size and visibility. I-42 wrong planche strike. Extremely rare, a 1942 penny struck on a foreign coin blank or on a dime planche. Value can exceed $10,000 in high grades. These rare mistakes make some 1942 pennies true collector's dreams, and every old coin jar could hold one. How much is the 1942 wheat penny worth? Let's talk about what everyone wants to know, the value. Here's an estimate of what your 1942 penny might be worth today. Condition: 1942, no mint mark. 1942 D, 942 S. Good, circulated. 0.05 and 0.10, 0.10, 0.20, 0.20, 0.30. Fine, light wear. 0.20, 0.50, curve 50, 1 sir. 1 mod or 2 down rear. Extremely fine. 2.4, 3.6, 4.8. Uncirculated, MS60, MS65, 540, 10, 75, 1500 plus. Error, high grade variety. Up to 10,000 plus. Up to 15,000 plus. Up to 20,000 plus. If you find a proof-like strike, a red luster, or an error version, you're looking at potentially hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The historical significance of the 1942 penny. Beyond value, the 1942 penny represents a moment in time when America's spirit was tested. Families were rationing food, factories were working day and night, and even the U.S. Mint was preparing to sacrifice metal for the war effort. This little copper coin circulated through the hands of soldiers, factory workers, farmers, and families, carrying with it the weight of a nation united in hardship and hope. Every 1942 penny could have bought a stick of gum, a postage stamp, or a small piece of candy. Tiny comforts during one of the darkest times in modern history. That's what makes collecting it today feel so personal. It's not just a coin. It's a story from a different world. Fun facts you might not know. Over 1 billion 1942 pennies were minted, one of the highest outputs in history. Many of them were melted down during later decades for their copper content. The 1942 penny was part of President Lincoln's 134th birthday anniversary, a subtle tribute to the leader who preserved the Union. The same design was used from 1909 to 1958, making the wheat penny the longest-running design in cent history. Collector tips: how to identify and protect your 1942 pennies. Use good lighting and a magnifier. Check for doubling on the date and letters. Never clean your coins. Cleaning reduces value dramatically, collectors prefer natural patina. Weigh it. A normal 1942 copper cent should weigh about 3.11 grams. Store properly. Use acid-free coin flips or holders. Keep away from humidity and direct sunlight. Get it graded. If you believe your penny is uncirculated or has an error, send it to PCGS or NGC for authentication. These small steps can help preserve both your coin's beauty and its investment potential. The emotional side, why collectors love it. Coin collecting isn't just about money, it's about connection. Every 1942 penny reminds us that even in times of chaos, people kept faith in the future. That's why holding this coin feels like touching history. You're literally feeling the metal that passed through hands during a time when freedom was being defended. Collectors say the 1942 penny carries a quiet strength, the spirit of America stamped in copper. Imagine the journey. Think about it. That one penny could have bought a letter, stamped that carried words from a soldier to his family. It might have been dropped in a gas station, or passed between two friends saying goodbye before deployment. Now 80+ years later, it might be sitting in your coin collection, still glowing faintly red, whispering stories from the past. That's what makes the 1942 Lincoln wheat penny truly priceless, not just for its metal, but for its history, humanity, and hope. The 1942 Lincoln wheat penny stands as a bridge between peace and war, between tradition and change. It reminds us how even the smallest object can carry the biggest meaning. Whether you find one worth a few cents or a few $1,000s, you're holding a piece of living history, a survivor from America's most defining decade. So next time you see that familiar Lincoln face and those two wheat stalks on the back, remember, it's more than just a penny. It's a message from 1942 echoing through time. Coin number 3, the 1995 double die Lincoln cent. This is the 1995 double die Lincoln cent, a mistake so fascinating that it caught the attention of collectors, historians, and even ordinary Americans checking their pocket change. Let's uncover how this small, minting error became one of the most valuable and recognizable modern coins ever released. The background: a modern era for the Lincoln cent. By 1995, the Lincoln cent had already been in production for more than 85 years. Introduced in 1909 to celebrate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, the coin had become a symbol of American history and everyday life. But by the mid-1990s, the U.S. Mint was entering the digital age. New machinery, laser-cut dies, and improved quality control systems were being introduced to prevent the very kinds of errors that had created rare coins in the past. And yet, even in this new era of technology and precision, a small but powerful mistake slipped through. That mistake gave birth to one of the last great double die varieties in modern coinage. The coin itself, the 1995 Lincoln cent. Let's start with the basics. Obverse front: Abraham Lincoln's portrait designed by Victor D. Brenner. Reverse back: the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. Composition: 97.5% zinc, 2.5% copper plating. Weight: 2.5 grams. Mint marks: Philadelphia no mint mark and Denver D. At first glance, the 1995 penny looks just like any other. But under closer inspection, one subtle detail changes everything. The discovery, the doubling that shocked the mint. In early 1995, coin collectors and sharp-eyed change sorters started noticing something unusual. On some newly minted pennies, the word liberty and the phrase "In God We Trust" appeared slightly doubled. The letters seemed to have a faint shadow or echo, not from wear or smudging, but from a true double die. A double die happens when the master die, the metal stamp used to create coin designs, accidentally receives two slightly misaligned impressions during the engraving process. This means every coin made from that die carries the same double design. In this case, the doubling was crisp, bold, and unmistakable, especially on Liberty. It wasn't something created after striking like machine doubling. It was built into the die itself, making it a genuine mint variety, not just a defect. When collectors confirmed what they were seeing, the 1995 double die Lincoln cent became an instant sensation. Public hype, when the media got involved. Unlike older errors that took decades to be discovered, the 1995 double die cent was caught almost immediately. It was the 1990s, news traveled fast, and soon TV stations, newspapers, and coin magazines were buzzing about it. Headlines read things like, "Check your change, you might have a valuable penny." People across the U.S. began examining their coins under lamps and magnifying glasses, hoping to find the rare double die version. The excitement was massive. It brought a new generation into coin collecting. Even people who had never cared about coins before suddenly wanted to learn what double die meant. It was the modern version of a treasure hunt, and it all started with a penny. How the error happened. The technical story. Before we get into the coin's value, let's understand the minting process that created this error. In 1995, the U.S. Mint still used a hub and die system to produce coin dies. The hub carried the positive image of the coin's design, and the die, which would strike the coins, was made by pressing the hub into it. Normally, this process required multiple impressions, perfectly aligned each time. But sometimes, if the hub or die shifted even slightly between impressions, it created a doubled image. That's what we call a double die. When this happened to one of the dies in Philadelphia in 1995, thousands of coins were struck with that double design before anyone noticed. Once the error was discovered, the Mint corrected the problem. But by then, roughly 500,000, 800,000 of these error coins had already been released into circulation. That might sound like a lot, but compared to the billions of normal 1995 cents produced, this variety is still extremely rare. Value of the 1995 double die Lincoln cent. So how much is this coin worth today? The value depends on three main factors: condition, clarity of doubling, and mint mark. Here's a quick breakdown. 95 double die, Philadelphia. 1995 D, Denver, normal, not doubled. Condition. Circulated, for $10 to $30. 0 po, uncirculated, MS60, MS63, 40, 100. 0 po, high grade, MS65, MS67, $150, $500. 0 po, proof-like, exceptional strike. Up to 1,000, some rare specimens in mint state. So red MS67RD, condition of sold for over $2,500 at auctions. And remember, this isn't a coin from the 1800s or early 1900s. It's from the 1990s, meaning you could still find one in a coin roll or old change jar today. That's what makes it so exciting. How to identify the 1995 double die cent? Spotting one isn't too hard if you know where to look. Here's what to check. Focus on the word Liberty. The doubling is strongest there. Each letter looks like it has a clear shadow. Check In God We Trust. Doubling can also be seen, especially on the letters G, O, and D. Use a magnifier or coin loop. Machine doubling looks flat and shelf-like, while true double die looks rounded and 3D, like a shadow engraved into the coin. The reverse side, Lincoln Memorial, should be normal. The doubling is only on the obverse, front. If your coin checks these boxes, congratulations. You might be holding one of America's most famous modern-era coins. Why it matters to collectors. The 1995 double die cent holds a special place in numismatic history for several reasons. It's one of the last major doubled dies before modern laser engraving made such errors nearly impossible. It introduced millions of new collectors to coin hunting. It's affordable yet valuable. Even beginners could realistically find one. In short, it's the perfect balance of rarity, accessibility, and historical charm. Many collectors call it the coin that revived the hobby. Fun facts about the 1995 double die penny. This coin was featured in national news, including the Chicago Tribune and Coin World magazine. It's often called the People's Double Die because so many were found by everyday citizens, not dealers. The Denver Mint D produced a 1995 penny too, but no double die has been confirmed from Denver. Some 1995 double die pennies were found fresh from sealed mint bags, untouched since release. The collector's perspective. When you hold a 1995 double die Lincoln cent, you're not just holding an era. You're holding a piece of American coin collecting history. It symbolizes the moment when ordinary people realized their spare change might hold hidden treasure. Collectors love it because it bridges two eras. The classic double die tradition of the 1950s and 1970s, and the modern precision of the late 20th century. It's also one of the most visually clear double dies ever. Easy to spot, easy to explain, and beautiful under magnification. Beware of fakes. Because of its popularity, counterfeiters have tried to reproduce the doubling by etching or pressing fake shadows on the letters. To protect yourself, always buy from trusted coin dealers. Compare with certified examples online. Look for PCGS or NGC certification labels if purchasing high-value ones. Real 1995 double dies have a smooth, rounded doubling, not jagged or flat. The emotional side, the coin that brought people together. In 1995, when collectors, kids, and families started searching for this penny, something amazing happened. It connected generations. Grandparents and grandchildren searched together. Parents taught their kids how to look for doubling, and communities shared discoveries like hidden treasures. It wasn't about the money. It was about the thrill of finding something special. That emotional connection still lingers today. Even seasoned collectors say this coin reminds them why they fell in love with the hobby in the first place. A symbol of luck and discovery. For many, finding a 1995 double die cent felt like winning a small lottery. A reminder that even in everyday life, surprises can be hiding in plain sight. Each of these pennies carries that message, that the world's greatest treasures aren't always buried deep underground. Sometimes they're right in your pocket. The 1995 double die Lincoln cent may be a modern coin, but its story is timeless. A story of imperfection, curiosity, and discovery. From the chaos of the mint to the excitement of collectors, this tiny copper-plated cent continues to capture imaginations across the world. So next time you see a 1995 penny, don't dismiss it as spare change. Take a closer look. That little coin might carry a small piece of American minting history. And who knows, maybe even a little bit of luck. And that wraps up today's story on the 1995 double die Lincoln cent. Proof that even the smallest error can create a legend. And that brings us to the end of another fascinating journey through history, where even the smallest coins hold the biggest secrets. From the rare 1982 D copper cent that shouldn't even exist, to the 1942 wheat penny, a symbol of wartime resilience. And finally, the 1995 double die Lincoln cent, a modern treasure that proved mistakes can turn to gold. Each coin tells its own story of mystery, rarity, and luck. Every scratch, every line, and every mint mark whispers a piece of America's past. And somewhere out there, one of these coins might still be waiting to be found. Maybe in your pocket or in that old jar at home. So next time you hold a penny, don't just see a cent. See a story, see history, and maybe see a fortune. If you enjoyed uncovering these hidden legends, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to OldCoin Secrets, and ring the bell, because your next big discovery might be just one coin away. This is OldCoin Secrets, where every coin tells a secret, and every story shines a little brighter.